tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got roughly about a 36 minute episode. We're going to be picking up where we left off in the last couple of episodes, working on our mall/aquarium. Now, this was something that I've been meaning to show because I've had people asking me for this, my reference material in building the mall and aquarium. So I wanted to take this opportunity to showcase this in this episode because I just happened to be looking online on Google and I found this website. And this is where it comes back into do your research for your ships, because you just start looking online, seeing what information you can find. You'd be surprised what you can come across. So you can see that I have my link up top, https:// forward/trek.com/the/unseen/enterprise/d/. So I have that up so you can go on this website. You can pull up these screenshots. I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's a lot of really neat information on here where it just talks about some of the different areas like the shuttle bays and the lounges that was on the Enterprise D. Um, this goes into some of the things I was talking about, how the Enterprise D has multiple lounges, your observation lounges, and of course, we get into our aquarium. Now, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to pull this site up, so you'll be able to get an idea on why I'm going to be making some of the decisions I'm going to be making in today's episode. Now, one of the slight variations from my aquarium, from the one that's on the actual Enterprise D, is that the aquarium is like in somewhere like around here. Like if you see these blueprints, like this side right here is kind of like a better representation. There's like, it's in the forward section of the saucer where the aquarium actually is. Now I decided to take an artistic liberty on this and have it built in with the mall just because I thought it would look better. But one of the cool things is that you could see that they had concept art that they did for Star Trek Online for the aquarium for the navigation dolphins. Unfortunately, just didn't make it into the game. Really cool that they did stuff like that. That were able to pull off that. And you've got your medical decks on here, and going further down, this is your confirmation for the mall. This is actual concept art for the Enterprise D. Um, that just never unfortunately made it into the show. And they really didn't do anything other than just a cylinder tube. They never really did any further conceptualization other than that. But that was one of the reasons why I decided to do this. But yeah, no, just a bunch of cool areas in here that we can use for inspiration. Like, of course, you have your computer core here. This was something that you really didn't see a lot of outside of just that one room that was in that episode, The Next Generation. And then, of course, going further down, we've got our captain's yacht. This is something that we'll be able to use too. This was something else that just never made it into the show, that they conceptualized later on from the 2007 Ships of the Line calendar. So my point is here is that, you know, when you look online, you can find a lot of cool stuff if you're willing to use it. But I really wanted to make a point to pull this website up and talk about it because there's a lot of things that we can use off this page for inspiration. So anyway, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in today's episode now that I've had a chance to talk a little bit about that. And I've done one thing off camera today. So we're in the center of our saucer section in the mall/aquarium. You're going to notice in the floor here that's got sand going all across the ground, going or on the bottom deck, going all the way around inside our ring here. So you're going to want to do the same thing. We just went one block high, and I filled in the whole flooring here with sand. Now, obviously, I didn't take out the sea lanterns. I left those in where I had the lighting in previously. Do the same thing. We can cover those up with coral and things like that. So this way we can still have a lot of lighting inside of our aquarium so you can see in once we fill in the water. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into this thing. We're going to go over 40 minutes today because I'm sure the first couple of minutes I kind of blew that up just a little bit. So I just want to rewind this just a little bit. Okay, so now you could either start from, if you're on the dead center of your oval here, either from the back side, the rear section of your saucer, or the forward section. Your inner ring here, we're going to go off the first cut. So we're on the left rear side. So we're going one cut in, one high. We're going to take out 2 rows going upward. And we're going to cut out 4 cut lines. So this is the first cut line, 2, 3, and then one more, 4. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and hop over on the right side. We're going to repeat that same process. Because what we're cutting out right now, these are going to be the windows for the observation area for the aquarium. So now you can kind of get an idea why I have it being a cylinder picture here, because I wanted to make sure that it kind of referenced off of the concept art. It's looking pretty good. Now we just have one more side to do. And then we're going to fill this in with glass. And then we're going to put water in this thing. And I'm going to show you how to do that too. I've got a pretty simple method on how to do that, to where you can have this fully enclosed area filled in with water without any dips. Relatively simple how to do it. We'll get into that in just a second. But want to make sure that we're all 4 of the cuts that we made, we're filling this in with glass first. So this way, the center, the very dead center of this area that we're working on doesn't fill up with water, because the very bottom of this area, that's going to be reserved for the captain's yacht, and then the deck that we're currently working on, this is going to be the aquarium viewing deck. And then as we go upward, we'll actually be into the mall area. So pretty cool, some of the stuff that we've got going on here. This is area I'm still continuously working on this myself where I'm at, but I'm excited nonetheless to show some of this stuff off. I've been waiting months to show this to you guys, because this is something that I've never done anything like this before in any of my builds. And you know, I can't really take too much credit for it, because I referenced concept art that I could find online. And this is where it just comes back into, do your research for these ships, see what you can find, because you never know whether it ended up making it into the show or not. You can still use this and things like this to help flesh out your ship. So you can see now I'm adding like a strut line here going around our windows here, just to make it look a little bit stronger. Even though we're really never going to see this, just a little bit of detailing here that I think that it'll make this area just look a little bit nicer. Now normally I would be curving off the top and bottom of these blocks with half slabs, but the problem is when you use half slabs underwater, it doesn't fully submerge. Directly above the half slab, there's an air pocket, so for that reason you're not going to see me doing that on this section of the ship, but normally I would. Okay, we're looking pretty good. We got one more side to do here. Well, this is going not that much Star Trek related stuff to talk about today. I know that they had that new show Star Trek Prodigy that just came out, and I think that's great that the producers of Star Trek and Paramount, they're trying to reach a younger audience. I'll never watch the show. I mean, maybe one day if I have kids, I might go back and watch it with them. But I gotta say, the ship has sailed on that for me. But I still think it's pretty cool that they added that in for the kids. Other than that, I don't really think that there's too much new Star Trek news to go off of today. So we're really going to just be focusing on talking about the build. So now getting back a little bit what we got going on here, you can see that I'm repeating the same process on the inside of the ship, or excuse me, the inside of our viewing area that we did on the outside. We're moving our row of pillars directly above our window on the inside now. Now there'll be flooring here, but at least we'll have this gray cut line to differentiate the floor and kind of like the bracket that's holding the window in. That's kind of like the idea behind what I'm building right now. Alright, so far we're looking pretty good. Some of this might look a little confusing right now, but once we start fleshing out the decks here, it's really not going to look that bad at all. It'll make more sense once we start filling in the decks. But it's important to have all this stuff outlined out a little bit, kind of like what we have right now, so you can kind of start getting a gust of where everything's going to go. So we're going to be skipping to the next part of our build here. I kind of shot through that, so I'm going to rewind it just a little bit so we can get a chance to actually go over this together, so you can see my starting off point here. Okay, so we've got our bottom section of our corridors that lead us to the center of the ship. The bottom block, which is essentially the floor, we're going to be filling all that in. Doesn't matter what color that you use, but the main thing right now is just to fill all of this in. Now you're going to see that I'm going to go back here and I'm actually going to be using a different color. I think the color that I ultimately pick is like an orange or a yellow, and the reason I decided to do that is because everything that you're about to see me do here is going to be temporary. We're going to come back, and in other words, we're going to get rid of it. But the reason that we're doing this is so when we come back in and start adding in our water, we have something to tack onto. This is my cheat that I do. Anytime that I want perfect water, you need a ceiling to build off of, basically. Because otherwise, like if you just try to build off of a wall, it's not, the mechanics of Minecraft isn't going to work within like how you would think like the mechanics of the real world. What's going to happen is that what you're basically doing is wherever you're snapping your water, that's the water source where it's coming out of. So if you just think that like, oh well, I'll just do it off the walls, what's going to happen is that you're going to have basically an endless loop of waterfalls on the left and right side of your room here, and it's going to dip inward. You're not going to have a completely flat surface. So the way to get around that is you need to build a roof, or ceiling in this case, and once we have this filled in, then we're going to come back and we're going to we'll have to do it block by block. We're going to have to snap water underneath this onto every single, can't talk, hiccuping and burping. No, but we're gonna have to snap it onto every single roof here, so this way there's no dips. It can be a little bit time consuming, but if you want a perfect, crystal clear, flat water surface, this is the way to do it. Another clear example when I've done this, my Tony Stark Malibu mansion. I have had people ask me like, dude, what's the seed that you use to make this thing? The landmass is perfect. What people don't realize is when I did that build, like I built that entire area up. The water, the terrain, everything. I built it to match the structure that I was making. So that was all by design. So the point is here is that if you take a little bit of time and care and plan out what you're going to do and you use it within the mechanics of the game, you can come up with some pretty clear solutions on how to achieve exactly what you're looking to achieve, basically. Alright, now we just need water. There we go. You get a water bucket. And just take your time with this. It's very important. No rush. You just need to make sure that you're snapping on every single block here. Because what will happen, like I was saying, if you start missing blocks, you'll have dips. So it's important blocks that we're missing. You can see I kind of skipped a row there. I might actually have to come back. But it's not going to be a huge deal at the moment. I'll show you basically what we're going to do to get around this. You're probably going to have the same issue that I'm having right now. I'm going to push you around just a little bit. Once you get the majority of the room filled up with water, it's going to be a little bit easier to maneuver in the room. And at that point, we just need to we're going to have to leave our ceiling in place. We're going to have to come back and look for any dips in the ceiling. It's simply just a matter of coming up to it and hitting that bucket on the ceiling part of the water. So this way, when we come back and we delete the ceiling, the water will still be here. See what we're doing right here? You can see exactly where I mean, where it's curving. This is the stuff that we want to avoid. We don't want any of that. We don't want any of that curving. Look at the surface, and it's going to take away the illusion of this actually being fully filled. And it's actually kind of cool. This is something I've never actually shown on my channel. And it's not really like a huge groundbreaking building tip or anything like that, but it's something that I don't think that many people have necessarily tried to do when they're adding their water. Things like that. This was the Beauty and the Beast castle. That was another area where I didn't, look for a terrain that was suitable for that. I built that from the ground up. The water and everything. The water, what we're doing right now is exactly what I did to add that perfect water. And just, it's kind of time consuming. You have to add your ceiling, and you just have to come back and look at the dips, fill that in, and make sure that it's away. Because once you take the roof away, then you're just adding more time onto the build basically. Because you're basically having to back and repeat the same process. So that's why it's kind of important. You fill up your room first, and then you come back and you look at your dips and you fill all that stuff in. What we're doing right now is kind of the hardest part because you can see that the water's moving us around. About. But once we get most of this filled in, it'll become a lot easier to get all of this the way that it should. Okay. You see under here under arch, we have to fill that in actually with water. On the underside. There we go. Now we're in good shape. You can see the mechanics of the game, it doesn't work off the mechanics in the real world. So you have to go in, even though that this archway is in the water, you still have to go in. Otherwise it's not going to work. We can add in sea life and our navigation. Now something I really need to make a point to look online for the reason for it, and I don't know if anybody else has experienced it. I've talked about it in one other episode, but when you add dolphins into an enclosure, for whatever reason they don't stay. Eventually they need to be spawned and die. And I haven't quite figured out the reason for that. I almost wondered at one point maybe if I just didn't have fish for them or some source of food. Turned out that wasn't the case, and I still, to this day, I haven't quite figured out why that kind of plays out the way that it does. So we're looking pretty good on this corner here, so now I'm going to come back and we're going to get rid of our ceiling here, even though I really should do another pass here, because you can see I'm coming across a couple of rows where the blocks haven't, where I haven't fully fleshed in our water line just yet. So that's why I made a point to talk about it in today's episode. Before you delete your ceiling, make sure that you inspect from the water side your roof, your water line in other words, because once you take it out, it's going to become a little bit more difficult, because you're seeing here I'm having to back pedal a little bit. I'm having to go back and fix my water line. So to save you from that, make sure that you just go back and double check, because you'll end up having just to put extra blocks down and stretch out this process to where it could be just a little bit easier. But I tell you, you know, what we're doing right here, I mean, you can't tell me that that is not fantastic. I think the one and only downside to this is that because I didn't build it in the same direction, it has a couple of different current lines on it. So, I mean, if you're looking for something exactly perfect, you just need to make sure that you're placing your water line in the same exact angled position that you're doing for every single block, so this way your this way your currents are all the same. But that's not really a huge deal. That's something, you know, for the sticklers of people that something so minute like that's going to bother you, you'd probably go back at that point and you would do the water at the same height for that. Now, if you make a mistake and let's say that you do want to do it and you want to have the current going in the same direction, but you've already added your water, what you'd have to do to fix that basically is this roof that we're deleting here. We would just have to actually build it one row down. And it would actually be a pretty simple process, because you wouldn't have to fill in the whole room in order to get rid of the water. You would just have to fill in the water line that we built on. So that's where I say the roof that we have now, we just would have to bring it down by one, and then once we had that completely filled in, the room would dissipate full of the water sources would disappear basically, because we're replacing the spawn point basically for the water line. And I don't recall if I'm going to do all four corners of this live. I think I might, or we might skip ahead. I don't remember that off the top of my head. But I do know that in a little bit here we're going to be working on the coral and some other things, which would be pretty cool. I might, if we end up showing it, I might actually fast forward through it. Because everything that you see me doing right here pretty much, well, not pretty much, will be exactly repeating the same process again 3 more times for all 4 corners. But you can't deny those results right there. We got to fix our corners here. But other than that, we're in good shape. So now what we can do, we can actually start adding in an assessment of different corals, which is pretty cool. Now, one thing that I did notice, I haven't actually gone into the open ocean to test this, but as far as my aquarium, I did notice this, that once you started adding in the corals, some of the fish will actually get stuck to them, and they'll just start fidget spinning in circles. I don't know if that's the case in the open ocean. I'm not going to lie, my build, my save file on this specific world is so old that my world was generated prior to coral becoming active. So in other words, my world, if you actually go out into the world itself, you won't find any coral in it because this map itself is over 10 years old. That's how long I've been building on this map for. But I did notice that on here anyway, that as soon as I actually went in and added the fish, not right away, but eventually as they swim around, some of the smaller ones, and if I'm not mistaken, the octopus will get stuck on the coral and they'll just fidget spin around. But kind of what I'm doing here is I'm basically trying to make clusters of coral, because what we'll do is, like, you don't want to have coral everywhere. You want to have enough of it. Because you think you're not going to see coral just completely encompassing the whole ground. And we want to have a variety of things. You know, we want to have our pockets of coral, and then also our pockets of seaweed and plankton and things like that. And we're going to have all of that in here. Because we really want to try to flesh this out to make it look as much as in a... what's the word I'm looking for? Artificial ocean as we possibly can. There's no rhyme or rhythm to what I'm doing here. I'm literally just, every so often, I'll put a random number of coral down and I'll just kind of spread it out. And I'm not doing any specific pattern. I'm using completely random patterns right now. But really what I'm doing is I'm just spreading it out, where I'm not doing too much of the same thing to give you a variety of different coral going around here. So if I'm not mistaken, I think I did actually skip ahead to where the total aquarium has now been filled in. So if you haven't done that, what we just did a few minutes ago, you want to repeat that same process again for the entire 4 sides of the aquarium, so this way it's fully submerged underwater. Once you've done that, then you can start working on your detailing here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get some kelp now and some seagrass. Yeah, and the seagrass will look nice. But you don't want to go too overboard with it, to where your entire flooring here is filled in with nothing but seagrass. Because you want to see maybe some of the sand bottom, because that's how it would be in an ocean. But we can definitely do patches of it. And that's where I say, you know, sometimes less is more. Now we're going to switch over to our kelp, because we'll have our kelp trees. And you can build them up, but eventually they will grow, and they'll go almost all the way up to the surface, if I'm not mistaken. But you start adding in just little by little your patches, and just, you know, make a circle going around here. In your aquarium. Oh, and that's the other thing, the seagrass you can't actually place over the sea lantern, so that's something that we can do to cover those up. You can't put the coral on top of the sea lantern for whatever reason, but the seagrass you can. And see that right there? That doesn't look too bad. That looks pretty good. You can maybe do a little bit more seagrass around here, like around the edges and stuff. Maybe we can have some coral sticking off the walls here and there, and also the pillars coming into the water. We can have some coral sticking off those. That would look pretty good. It's not the method that we're using right now. It's not unsimilar to like how I did the board cube, for example. Everything I'm doing here is just kind of a random pattern, but we're spreading it out. That's the main thing. We don't want too much of everything in just one spot. But a lot of it right now we're doing at the moment is seagrass. Even though we are going to come back in these corners that we're in right now and add in more of the coral. This will be pretty cool. This is going to be one of the things that we can add in our ship, that for those of you that are wanting to use your Enterprise D in survival, you can have basically a fish farm. Not gonna lie, I've actually have toyed with the idea. I might actually at some point do an episode on things that you can actually do from your ship on survival. I didn't really fully flesh out like my Disco era Enterprise, but the 2009 Enterprise, well, the 2009 Enterprise / the 2016 Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A, that has like a fully fleshed out farm on it, so that you could do all that stuff on it, which was kind of cool. Might actually end up doing an episode for that, just so people looking at, those of you that are looking to have more ideas. You know, I might actually end up doing that. But that's not going to be something we're going to worry about right now. Really, our main priority is getting the ship fleshed out. We've got so much to do on this build. Really would not surprise me if we spend the rest of the year working on the Enterprise D, just because there's so much to do on it. But I really don't want to shortchange myself on this one. I really want to flesh this thing out as much as I possibly can. I think it'll be worth it in the long run to have Enterprise D that's fleshed out as much as I'm intending to flesh it out anyway. But again, you know, this was one of the reasons why I kind of stayed away from it for a while, because I knew the amount of work that I was going to be putting myself into working on this ship. I sensed it, that I was going to be working on this thing for a while. But you know, it is what it is. I would rather take the time and do this right, rather than rush through it and just have a bunch of random crap that I'm not happy with. Actually, more than likely going to be getting on Minecraft next weekend. Not to work on the Enterprise D, but I'm probably going to do a couple other mock builds, just so I can have that going. And Voyager is going to be one of them. I don't know what other ones I'm going to do with Voyager. I kind of want to wait to see how I'm feeling, and I don't necessarily know like if those the mocks that I'm going to do, if I'll end up doing full-scale tutorials for them in the order in which I'm going to release them in. But I want to get those out just so I have other content coming out with the Enterprise D, because we're going to be working on this thing for such a long period of time. Because the tutorial series has been running since May, and I've been working on the build itself since February, and I'm still heavy into it with no sign of being done anytime soon. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that more than likely, if not 100% for sure, this thing is going to go into the end of this year and to maybe the beginning of next year. We'll see. Whatever ends up being, that's fine, and if it does end up going that long, like I said, you know, I'll do more mocked builds while I'm working on the Enterprise D, and what I'll probably end up doing is maybe, while I'm taking breaks from the Enterprise D, start working on some other ships. Even though I said I didn't want to do that, because I did that when I was working on the Cerritos. I started working on the Enterprise D, and it kind of, Enterprise D kind of took priority over that. So, I don't know, I may actually not do that. We'll see. Might wait until I'm done with the Enterprise D before I actually start working on another full-scale build. But the mock builds, that's something that I can do in a couple of hours on Minecraft, where, you know, I can bang that out. So I think that's something more realistically thinking that I'll probably end up doing. And then on top of that, you know, something I've been talking about, you know, as we start increasing the number of subscribers that we have on the channel. Can't believe I'm already up to 615 subscribers. But once we hit 1,000, I'm going to be doing a
tutorial on the 2016 Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A, and because I've had a lot of people that asked me for a while to do that build, and I haven't forgotten about that, but that's one of those things where, you know, I really want to hit that milestone before we do that tutorial, because I've done so many of the Constitution class at this point. Well, I say so many, but I mean, really, when you think about it, I've done the 2009 Enterprise, and then the 2016 Enterprise A, and then the Disco era Enterprise. So that's technically 3 Enterprises, but not counting all the times that I rebuilt the 2009 Enterprise and the 2016 Enterprise. So it's really, we're talking like 5 different variations that I've done over a period of time since I've had my channel up. But with that being said, you know, that's probably one of my #1 channel requests that I get on my YouTube channel, is to do a tutorial for the Enterprise, and then also the original Enterprise from, not the original series, but the actual the movies with Shatner. And that's something that we'll do that too. But I think once we hit 1,000, the 2016 Enterprise A, that's going to be the ship that we'll do. But I'm not going to do it until we hit 1,000 subscribers. Once we hit 1,000, you can guarantee that tutorial is going to come out, and I'll actually be looking forward to that, because I've learned a thing or two since I've built that ship that I feel that I could do it better justice this time around. After having a couple of tutorials underneath my belt, learning how to do things in a more efficient way and building a little bit better, I think that build will come out really awesome. But with that being said, you know, if there's other stuff that you want to see me work on the channel, drop a comment below. Let me know what you want to see me do. And even if I'm not, if I don't build it right now, don't get discouraged, because I save all of these comments in the comment section, and I use them when I'm determining what my next build is going to be. Which brings me to the next thing that, you know, on my next episode, episode 70, I'm going to make a point to have that up. I'm going to start posting my links for the Discord channel. I meant to have that up in today's episode, because I'm actually recording all 3 of these episodes back to back, and then I'll be releasing them throughout this week. No, I'm going to start really promoting my Discord channel, and that's actually going to be an invaluable asset for me, because I'll be able to do more polls on there, see what ships people want me to build. I'm going to have to search through the comment section to see what people want to see on the channel. And it'll be really cool, because, you know, I'll be able to communicate with people a little bit more efficiently as opposed to on my channel. You'll be able to get updates from when I'm going to be maybe changing up my schedule, maybe taking a brief vacation from the YouTube channel. And any, you know, news updates that's going to be related to the YouTube channel will be on the Discord as well. The other cool thing about it too is that I'm going to have sections on my channel where you can post your builds. So those of you that are needing help on your build and you're getting stuck, you'll be able to actually post and show me exactly what you're talking about, so I can see it visually and I can give you more in-depth advice on things that you could do. Or if you're just wanting to showcase some of your stuff for the community to see, you're going to be able to do that too. I'm not going to be that type of person that's going to tell people like, hey, you know, you can't show your stuff off on my Discord. I want to see what other people are working on too, because I've seen some pretty incredible builds on Minecraft from the community, and I've talked to several of you that watch my channel, and I've been itching to see some of the stuff that you guys have been working on. Because, you know, you hear me say it in every single episode that I'm doing. What did you work on today in Minecraft? And I mean that. Like, I want to see some of these other builds that people have been doing, because that's going to inspire me too, to see some of the stuff that, you know, that you guys are doing, and that's going to inspire me to do things just like I'm inspiring you in turn, you know. So that would be pretty cool. But definitely keep an eye out for that. That's going to be coming up in the next episode. So what I'm going to do is, between the time that I record this episode and then the next episode, I'm going to get my Discord link ready to invite everybody. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be on episode 70, which will drop on Wednesday. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've been talking about the YouTube channel for a while now, so that hopefully that'll be pretty cool. I think it will be. I've had a few people ask for it, but my girlfriend was really the one to suggest that I do something like that. So we'll see what happens with it. Anyway, getting back into what we got going on here, you can see we got a lot of our floor fleshed out here with our details with our seaweed and kelp and coral. Now we're starting to add in a different variety of fish. You can see exactly what I mean right here. The fish, they start to fidget spin on the sea lanterns, and I think they do it on some of the coral too. And that, you know, it kind of is what it is, you know. I'm not really, I thought about taking out the sea lanterns, but then I was like, you know what? I need to leave that in because I need a light source for when you're looking into this thing that you can actually see the fish and you're not looking into blackness of the fish tank. So you can just say that maybe those are fish that they're slow learners or whatever the reason is, or maybe, you know, they're a couple of French fries short of a Happy Meal, or maybe they're professional underwater break dancers. I don't know. But that's kind of what I'm going with. You see, now we're throwing in some of our navigation dolphins. Unfortunately, all the navigation dolphins in today's episode don't really survive the next couple of loads on the builds because I'm pretty sure it was either the next time I loaded into Minecraft or after that they just vanished. No idea what happened to them. One thing I haven't tried on here, and I don't even know if you can tame dolphins, but that might be something that I try to do. I might actually try to tame them and see if maybe that's a way that I can keep it to where they don't despawn. But see, that looks pretty cool. Now we can actually go in here from the viewing area and actually take a look around and see how it looks. So you can see I've got two different colors of glass here. I want to try them out to see which one looks a little bit better. I might actually end up going back to the dark color that we have right here. Because you can see when you switch it to the white, it ends up being a little bit harder to see. And even with the blue is kind of harder to see. Really, that stained glass kind of looks the best. And then we're just going to try the regular glass. Which the regular glass is probably maybe the clearest, but I don't know. Like, I don't like how it has that white edging on it. It looks kind of weird to me. Which is why you always see me stay away from it in my builds. I never use this type of glass. Pretty sure it's a tinted glass if I'm not mistaken. We're just gonna go right back to it because that looks, it does make it slightly darker with the tinted glass, but I still think that it's less distracting than the regular glass. And the other color glasses, you know, with the blue and the lighter color, like it just, I don't know, somewhat distracting to me. That doesn't look too bad. We're looking pretty good. We got a decent amount done in today's episode. Pretty happy with the progress. Now we can honestly say that we have an aquarium and that we haven't just been working on it. The aquarium's pretty much done. Now it's just a matter of building everything else out, which we will get into. But I think that's going to wrap us up today. Don't want to bite off more than I can chew. And I've had a long episode today. So I think that's going to wrap us up. And I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And don't forget, my Minecraft schedule has changed. My videos now drop Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm really making a point to have them on premiere so you see that they're coming out ahead of time. And of course, if you have any questions regarding today's episode, or if there's any builds that you want to see me do, you're just dropping by to say hey, be sure to drop a comment below. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section, and if you need help, I will try to help you out if I can. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make